Canada's April 28 election will be remembered as one of the most remarkable comebacks in modern democratic history. Just 4 months before ballots were cast, the Liberal Party was considered politically finished. Pollsters, pundits, and even many within the party itself had resigned themselves to the prospect of years, perhaps a decade, of conservative dominance. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. The Liberal Party's approval ratings had sunk to 20%, while the Conservatives under Pierre Poilievre commanded nearly half the electorate's support. The reasons for this collapse were numerous. After nearly 10 years in office, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had grown unpopular. His personal charisma, which had carried him through multiple elections, was no longer enough to sustain him. The electorate was weary of repeated controversies, policy missteps, and a sense that the government had lost touch with ordinary Canadians. While Trudeau had once embodied youthful energy and a promise of progress, by early 2025 he was seen as part of a stale establishment that no longer spoke for a struggling middle class. In this environment, Trudeau's announcement on January 6 that he would step down as both Prime Minister and Liberal Party leader was met with both relief and despair. Relief, because many Liberals recognized that Trudeau had become a liability. Despair, because no obvious successor seemed capable of reversing the party's fortunes. What followed was one of the fastest and most dramatic political transformations in Canadian history. Enter Mark Carney. For years, Carney had been floated as a possible political figure, but he had remained firmly outside the arena of partisan politics. His career had been international, technocratic, and deeply rooted in economics. As Governor of the Bank of Canada during the 2008 financial crisis, Carney earned widespread praise for steering the country through turbulent waters. Later, as Governor of the Bank of England, he became one of the most influential central bankers in the world, navigating the complexities of Brexit and maintaining global financial stability. By 2020, Carney transitioned to diplomacy and global climate leadership, serving as the United Nations Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. His resume was unrivaled, but many doubted whether such a figure could translate his technocratic gravitas into political charisma. When Trudeau stepped down, however, Carney saw both a challenge and an opportunity. He positioned himself as a different kind of politician, not a career partisan, but a seasoned public servant who could combine competence with moral clarity. His message was simple yet powerful. Canadians deserved leadership that could stand up to bullies abroad while listening to citizens at home. His campaign slogan, "Elbows Up," captured this dual spirit. Borrowed from the hockey rink, it was a distinctly Canadian metaphor for resilience and defense. It suggested toughness without aggression, defiance without recklessness. To a public that had grown disillusioned with Trudeau's polished but often vague rhetoric, Carney's straightforwardness was refreshing. If Carney's credentials gave him credibility, President Donald Trump gave him urgency. Trump, inaugurated for his second term in January 2025, wasted no time in rekindling tensions with America's northern neighbor. On February 1, he signed an executive order imposing a blanket 25% tariff on Canadian imports. Though enforcement was paused and later softened with exemptions, the message was clear: Canada was once again in Trump's crosshairs. Trump's rhetoric was even more incendiary than his policies. He claimed, without evidence, that Canada was a major source of fentanyl entering the United States. He joked, though many suspected he was serious, that Canada should become America's 51st state. These comments were deeply insulting to Canadians across the political spectrum. For Carney, Trump was both an adversary and a political gift. Trump's aggression created a national rallying point, and Carney seized the opportunity. Unlike Trudeau, who had often tried to smooth over conflicts with Trump, Carney promised direct confrontation. He would not be cowed, nor would he allow Canada to be humiliated. This clarity allowed Carney to tie Trump directly to the Canadian Conservative Party. Poilievre had modeled much of his political style on Trump's, adopting combative language, focusing on cultural grievances, and campaigning under the slogan, "Canada First." At first, this approach seemed to energize conservative voters. But once Carney entered the picture, it became a liability. Canadians, already skeptical of Trump, began to question whether they wanted a Trump-like leader at home. Carney's strategy was not built on opposition alone. He carefully paired his toughness against Trump with responsiveness to Canadian concerns. For example, One of Trudeau's most unpopular policies, the consumer carbon tax, became a key issue. Conservatives had hammered the tax as unfair, burdensome, and disconnected from ordinary life. Rather than defend it, Carney scrapped it entirely. But he didn't abandon climate policy. Instead, he reframed it. Climate action, Carney argued, should be about innovation, industry, and investment in the future, not about punishing households. By ending the unpopular tax while maintaining environmental commitments, he demonstrated that leadership could be both principled and pragmatic. This combination of defiance abroad and flexibility at home allowed Carney to present himself as a leader of change, not continuity. Where Trudeau had appeared rigid and out of touch, Carney appeared adaptive and grounded. Where Poilievre had embraced populist anger, Carney offered disciplined competence. The defining moment of the campaign came on March 28, in Carney's first call with President Trump as Prime Minister. The conversation was expected to be tense, but few anticipated the firmness of Carney's stance. When Trump repeated his claim about annexing Canada, Carney directly and unequivocally rejected it. He also warned Trump that Canada would impose retaliatory tariffs to defend its industries. Canadians were electrified. The call was widely reported as a moment of national pride, a new leader standing tall against foreign bullying. Almost overnight, Carney's support consolidated. The Liberals, who had been written off just months earlier, surged past the Conservatives. By the time the April 28 election arrived, the outcome was clear. Carney had not only revived his party but reshaped Canadian politics. Carney's victory carries implications that extend far beyond Canadian politics. It offers a model for how progressive leaders can confront Trumpism and other forms of authoritarian populism around the world. First, it shows that direct opposition works. For years, many politicians had tried to tiptoe around Trump, hoping to minimize conflict. Carney demonstrated that firmness and clarity resonate more strongly with voters than hesitation or appeasement. Second, it illustrates that competence is a powerful antidote to populism. Trump and his imitators thrive on portraying elites as incompetent and corrupt. Carney flipped this script by leaning into his expertise and record of public service. Instead of hiding his technocratic background, he showcased it as proof that he could deliver results. Finally, Carney's success highlights the importance of adapting to domestic concerns. By scrapping the carbon tax while maintaining climate commitments, he showed that progressive leadership need not be rigid. Voters want leaders who listen, adjust, and respond. Carney's rise is a case study in political renewal. It demonstrates how a party once considered finished can reinvent itself with the right leader, the right message, and the right moment. It also underscores the limits of Trumpism, showing that aggressive populism is not invincible when confronted by credible opposition. For Democrats in the United States, Carney's victory offers a blueprint. It suggests that defeating Trump requires more than moral appeals or vague promises of unity. It requires a leader willing to confront him directly, tie opponents to his toxic brand, and offer a credible alternative vision. For Canadians, the election of Mark Carney represents both relief and opportunity, relief from political stagnation, and an opportunity to reassert Canada's place in the world. And for the wider international community, it is a reminder that even in an age of populist surges, disciplined leadership, principled resistance, and pragmatic governance can